Hello. That was quick. Man, that was the fastest that I have ever actually been added to the live stream from this little Streamyard thing. So, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here this morning, and I'm very excited about doing this. This is the first Q&A that I have done in 2 weeks. So the last one was 2 weeks ago. I did not mean to miss the live Q&A on Black Friday, but that is a-okay because we are here now. So if you have any questions, comments, or want to discuss anything in real estate investing or the real estate investing world, let me know. All right, so as I am getting started, I'm going to go through some of the comments that I have gotten recently on this channel and answer those. I've been asked some really good questions in the comments of the videos. So Jim W has asked, assuming you have to check for liens before bidding at court auction. Assuming you have to check for liens before bidding at the court auction. No, Jim W, you do not have to. I think liens are one of the only things that you can use to back out of a purchase that you have made at auction or a bid that you have won. So after, at least here in Montgomery County, how it has worked is you bid on the property, you get some sort of receipt from the sheriff, and then at that point you take it to the title company and you get the title search done. I would not recommend doing too much research on the front end as like you are bidding on properties before you actually own them. I think you would burn through a lot of cash that way, and I don't think title companies would really enjoy that. So after you bid, after you win, that is when I would start the due diligence. If there are any liens or not a clear title, then generally you can back out of those. I don't know why you wouldn't be allowed to back out, because if the title can't be transferred cleanly, that's not your issue as the buyer. That is their issue as the seller. So they're going to have to get that fixed one way or another before they give you that property. Let's see. Oh, also, there is a redemption period for the person foreclosed upon. How do you deal with that? I'm not so sure about any redemption periods. I know that that's a thing, like during the before the day that the property appears in court. After you've bid on it, I'm not so sure if that redemption period is still intact. And if that redemption period is intact, then you deal with it, I guess, just by the deal falling through. So there's no real downside to the person redeeming their property and the property not being foreclosed on, except I guess you don't get the property, but you wouldn't be out anything. You would get all of your money returned to you. So on to the next deal. That's how I would mitigate that, is I would just say, man, what a bummer. That was a good deal, but it didn't work out. So now I'm going to go find the next deal. There's tons of deals out there. What do they call it? Fish in the sea? Okay. Elizabeth Rigby sent a comment in. She said, here, not for revenue, but a place to live. Vancouver is a mess with so many owners using property as source of income and constantly increasing rent, making it way out of hand considering wages. Thanks for your information. 2-bedroom suites now renting for $2,000 a month. A 5-bedroom detached home is no less than, that looks like $1 million, with rent being more in most cases than the mortgage itself. A no-brainer to own, but at the market price these days. I don't know anything about Canada, and I don't know anything about the real estate market in Canada. But I would say to all the people living in very high priced areas, I mean, I lived in North Carolina before I moved to Ohio, where, here in Ohio, the house that we lived in cost 60 grand, I believe. So I don't know if it's so out of hand, then, vote with your residency, move. If enough people move, then market prices will surely go down. But if people continue to stay and people are continuing to increase price, it's only because there's a demand, and you have the ability to take away that demand, at least inside of your life. So if you want to move, feel free to do so. There are better things in better places. Equal opportunity, cheaper places, especially with this whole like remote working thing. I know nothing about Canada, but I imagine there are some spots where it's pretty cheap to live in Canada and you would be able to work remotely, probably doing the same thing. Sacred Space, good morning. Good morning to you. Just found your channel. Great content. Thank you. Do you offer a way for mentorship? What a great question, R&R. This is the only thing that I'm offering currently down at the bottom of the screen, seek-wisdom.com/join. That is a mastermind group, and there's about 16 guys in there so far, and we meet for 1 hour per week. And it's a really cool structure. So the cost of that is $300 per month. I think it is very underpriced. I think there's tons of value to be had there. And really the way that it's set up is it's kind of just like an open forum. So we go over wins of the week. We hold each other accountable to what's called the 12-week year. It's a book written by Brian Moran. It's really just a way to set goals in different avenues of life over 12-week increments and holding each other accountable through that process. So there's that. And then each week there are two, what we call hot seats, where where two people just bring any issue that they're having. The guys sometimes do personal issues, sometimes professional issues, and just get everybody's feedback. It's a really, really cool deal. I recommend you watch the video and see if it's a good fit for you. What did you buy this week? Lewis Porter Jr. back again. This week we put a property under contract. It's in my neighborhood where that 1-1 is. You like that 1-1 that I got. It was 70 grand, but we did traditional financing right out of the gate. We put that under contract. It is a 3-bed, 2-bath. We have it under contract for 80 grand. And the after repair value on it is probably in the 150 to 160 range. Pretty eager about it. The numbers don't line up like the 2% rule. I mean, we're still going to have to put like probably 20 to 30 grand into the property just to bring it up to date. It's got galvanized plumbing throughout. It has a Federal Pacific breaker. Man, that's an insurance issue. I shouldn't have said that live, but we're getting it replaced the first day that we close. So I've already got the electrician lined up to replace that. Federal Pacific breakers are known for burning down properties. It's generally not on the residential side, but on the commercial side. But because insurance is overwhelmingly conservative, we've pretty much just banned all Federal Pacific breakers ever. So there's that. And then it needs the bathrooms updated, the kitchen updated, of course, the mechanicals. I think the AC needs to be replaced. Paint, of course, but it should be good. It's got one of those real fancy metal roofs on it, a blue metal roof. I'm really excited about it. And again, it's in my neighborhood. So I really love buying properties in the neighborhood and letting my son and daughters. And now, well, he was just born 2 days ago. My youngest son can't walk to it yet, but one day he will. And it'll be just tons of fun. We also actually closed on a property this week on Monday. We bought it for $50,000. This is the one that I shared last week where I thought I was buying it for $45,000. I made a $5,000 mistake, but that's okay. Long term, the numbers still work. It's rented out for $650, which is under market rent by about $100. She's on a month-to-month lease. I don't know what we're going to do with that one yet, but it doesn't need any work, so we're probably just going to ride it out for a little bit, see what happens. We bought that in cash. We did not use any sort of financing on that. However, we probably will refinance it at some point just to free up our capital and deploy it elsewhere again. So, hey, if you have any questions throw them in the comments section. This is awesome. I'm so excited about this. Again, just had that baby on the 1st, 12/1. And what's really cool is my brother also had a baby on 12/1. So those cousins will be able to, share a birthday. But that has also thrown a wrench in our business. So now that my brother and I are both out, but we're having tons of fun. Good morning from Cincinnati, Cosmic Wisdom. Cosmic Wisdom. Hey, regardless, Cincinnati, I appreciate you being here. I'm not sure when foreclosures will uptick here. What do you think about your Dayton market as far as foreclosures? I know you have more vacant housing up there. Yeah, we do have a lot of vacant housing up here, but those vacant homes probably aren't going to get foreclosed on anytime soon because a lot of our vacant housing has been vacant for quite some time. I think on average, I would say that the properties that I have acquired that have been vacant from the city via the Lot Links program. So for a while, the city had a cool program where they're giving away homes for free. I say that it costs about $2,000 per house, but they have been vacant for probably about a decade on average. So any type of foreclosure or legal action has probably already been done. Now, as far as when they're going to uptick from this pandemic that we're in, I really don't know. I'm having a really tough time figuring out how many people in Dayton are truly affected by the pandemic. I get that the lockdowns are causing like restaurant owners or restaurant workers a good bit of strife. And, forgive me, I am kind of a homebody, especially with these 4 kids that we have now. So I'm a little bit out of the loop as far as who's affected. But as far as our rents go, we haven't had anyone unable to pay their rent so far. Now, there are a few people that are acting like they can't pay their rent, but they had problems paying their rent before the pandemic, and they're probably going to have an issue paying their rent after the pandemic too. So I think it's just a convenient excuse to be late. So I don't know when they're going to uptick. I kind of feel like Ohio and maybe all of the like Rust Belt area is like they've already boiled down to essential only jobs. So I really don't know. This could be complete ignorance on my end, but I'm not so sure if we're going to experience an uptick. Hello, 3D of Tom. Happy to see you on here. Congrats on the new baby. Thanks. I really appreciate it. We're having tons of fun. And man, I got to the bottom of the thread. Louis Porter Jr., I might need your help asking a few questions. What you got for me? And Cosmic Wisdom, what do you think about Cincy? How's Cincy doing? Do you have any properties down there already, or are you waiting for some sort of massive correction to happen or uptick in foreclosures before you get started into the real estate investing world? Let's see. All right. You're having trouble figuring it out here as well. I'm not alone. No, you're not. Yep. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think the Rust Belt is like America's best kept secret. I think we've been depressed for so long since the automotive industry has kind of pulled out. I think we're at the bottom because, I think during all of the like nationwide foreclosure crisis, housing crisis, pandemic, I mean, a lot of it really comes down to the local market. It's not a nationwide issue. It's not like we're all in the same bucket where there's so much diversity in all of this. And for the whole Rust Belt, I mean, I think there's nowhere but up. And I think even if there were to be a bunch of foreclosures happening, I don't really think it would affect our market so much. And I have a difficult time thinking about housing prices in this area falling any further than they already are, especially given the extraordinarily low, like access to capital has never been greater, especially since like these interest rates are so low that I think so long as people still need and are looking for places to live, housing prices won't go down, at least here in the area. Doing gentrification in small town to revitalize them. What is this? What is this, Lewis Porter Jr.? What is this? An incomplete question? Did this Streamyard did it leave out something? I don't know. I'm not trying to do any sort of gentrification in small town to revitalize them. I don't like the word gentrification. I don't exactly know what it means, but I know it has a negative connotation. And since it has a negative connotation, I'm not down for it. Ryan, found a property to start in Baltimore, small home, 56 grand, about 38K in rehab. Without knowing much on that property, what would you look for? All the mechanicals. I would look for the after repair values. I'd go on Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, any of those bad boys to figure out the ARV in the area. What are the neighboring properties going for? I think if it's like a row home, which I know Baltimore has a lot of, it might be pretty easy to figure out what the ARV is. I would check Trulia, see what shade of blue it is on the crime rating. And I would just make sure that those repair costs are reasonable. And I mean, if you can be all in on the property at about 70 to 75% of the after repair value, then I really don't think that there's any reason not to do it. But again, everything is on a case by case basis, especially in the single family home rental world. So I would just be mindful of that, and I would just make sure that you're not going to lose money. So if you're 70, 75% after repair value, all in, this 38K is reasonable and realistic on the rehab costs. I would get a few different contractors in there. 38K is kind of a big project. And one of the things that I've noticed about big projects is contractors tend to lose steam. So they'll show up for, a week, week and a half straight, working diligently towards it, and then they'll slowly start taking on other jobs, and then they'll come to your property less and less. So I would just have a few on deck. And one of the things that contractors hate to do as well is come in after each other. So your price will go up from 38K if they have to come in behind another contractor who stopped showing up. So I would just be mindful of all of those things and then go for it, because real estate is the way to go. Cincy is crazy. I have 2 single family homes, one that you're rehabbing. Nice. You're the man looking for another rehab while you're currently rehabbing. The 55K house I bought last year has a $450,000 new construction house already sold 3 houses down. Nice. I've got a few clients on the insurance agency side that are starting to buy homes down in Cincinnati and knock them down and build new in their place. Dayton is not to that point yet where that even remotely makes sense, but it's really cool that Cincy is there. I don't know if that is going to directly increase your ARV, but if it is, then you just hit a home run, man. You kind of 10x your money. And in that kind of market, I mean, generally when you're rehabbing properties, you just go like rental grade. Like you don't put in granite, you don't go too crazy on like the bathrooms or kitchens or floor coverings. But man, if you have the potential of even making it anywhere close to 250, 300, then that's a home run for you, Cosmic Wisdom. I like that a lot. Yes. When I first got into real estate investing, I almost bought a few properties in Baltimore, but it was going to be out of state investing, of course, because I had already moved to Ohio. They were all row homes, and I knew so little about Baltimore. And since I was in law enforcement, just through friends of friends of friends, I connected with a few cops from Baltimore, and I could just never get a good feeling about Baltimore. Insurance is very difficult in Baltimore too. Insurance is like 10 times the price in Baltimore than it is here in Dayton. Which insurance, man, insurance, they have it all figured out. So in their little algorithm or whatever you want to call it to determine how much you pay in premium, they do factor in the crime rate somehow. I don't know where they get it from. I don't know how they do it, but it's pretty crazy. Yes, Baltimore is a very unique city. I don't understand it at all. I hear some parts of it are nice. I mean, it has to be with as many people that live there, but crime, crime is something else. What qualities should I look for in the market for foreclosure properties? I'm looking to start purchasing properties. What qualities should I look for in the market for foreclosure properties? It really comes down to, if we're talking about single family foreclosures, the neighborhood is important, and the after repair values or what properties have sold for in that same neighborhood. It's extraordinarily important. So I would start by identifying what area you want to be in, because it's much more difficult to underwrite a neighborhood than it is to underwrite a property. So before you look at these foreclosure lists, if you could just divide up the areas that you're interested in and kind of underwrite those as a whole by figuring out if that is a good neighborhood to, be invested in. If all the properties are selling for 50 grand, whether they're super nice or like really torn up, then there's probably not too much of an upside to buy a foreclosure there. But if you've got a good mix, where some properties are selling for 100, these are all Dayton, Ohio prices, but if you've got some that are selling for 100, you can get some, discounted properties for 15, 20 grand, then that's a good mix. And that is that there's enough meat on the bone for you to want to buy that property, put the money in, fix it up, and then potentially sell it or rent it out. I am a fan of just renting things out and refinancing them rather than selling for a myriad of reasons. But that's where I would start. Now, while you guys are busy typing in more questions, I wanted to go over a few things that I'm super thankful for. 4,600 subscribers. We just hit that. That's pretty surreal, especially since I only started this channel at the beginning of this whole pandemic. So I really appreciate everybody's support. And thank you for clicking that subscribe button. So I'm going to try to make a big push and get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if this channel has been of any value to you, just send it to one or two friends that you think might find some additional value in the whole real estate investing world. I am super thankful for that. And then, I just had the baby. So thanks. Thanks for all the well wishes as well. I'm really impressed at the number of people that reached out to me from this channel that wished me and my family well. So that was really cool. I appreciate that. I am just blown away by how supportive and awesome the people in this YouTube community are. So I think it's really cool. My brother is calling me. I knew I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. He's one of the few people that can get through to me on that. I invited him to be on the live stream. I'm going to ask him again. That'd be cool. He's really good at answering questions. Yeah. All right. So now that we've had the baby, I'm going to start posting regularly soon. And actually, the older kids that we have are going to go with my wife's family. So I'm going to spend all weekend trying to come up with some awesome videos and going ahead and recording some stuff. And I know the hardcore people. So right now we've got 11 people on the live stream. You guys are awesome. I'm going to try to do a live stream after business hours where the average person is watching YouTube, not the overachieving people that are currently in this room. So thanks for that. Yeah, you guys are awesome. What is the best thing you have done to do forced appreciation? Forced appreciation inside the single family home space is a really difficult thing. So for those of you that are not familiar, forced appreciation is easily done on commercial real estate because commercial real estate, the valuation of commercial real estate is done based on its financials, while as residential real estate, the 1 to 4 family is based on the comparables. So comparable sales in the area for size, style homes is where 1 to 4 families. So in theory, if you wanted to force appreciate a market, then you would have to make sure that all of the homes in that area are above average and it has access to amenities and a good school district. So that is how you would force appreciation on the residential space. Commercial, all you have to do is raise people's rents, and then you would make more money. And if you lower your expenses, so you spend less money, then on that spread, you would kind of force appreciation. So it's completely possible to buy an apartment complex, let's just say for $1 million, raise all of the rents, lower all of the expenses, and then sell it for, 2, 3, 4 million. And that is what a lot of these syndication deals are based on. But I don't know. That is a good play if you're interested in doing forced appreciation and working on that model. And if you have the access to enough capital to get into those deals, then it's probably a pretty good idea. But a lot of syndications, I mean, if you look at their presentations, their proposals, then their exit strategy, a lot of them are only holding these apartment complexes for 5 to 7 years before they sell them at a high profit. And generally, if that's their model, then the people that were doing the syndications, they look for, value add opportunities. And then I guess, I don't know what their exit strategy is. I don't know who the market is, because it won't be to another syndication. It'll probably be to like a hedge fund, or maybe even, just like one investor that has sold a business or for whatever reason has access to millions of dollars that they're looking to make good returns on. Kind of like what turnkey companies do on the residential side. They are just the investors that would buy a turnkey single family home, but they actually have millions instead of, 100, 200,000 to deploy. So they buy an entire apartment complex. But let me not get too far away from what I actually know how to talk about. Would you take out a second mortgage when you free and clear own your first home? So it wouldn't be called a second mortgage. It'll be a first mortgage. A second mortgage is on top of the first mortgage. But if it's free and clear, it'll be a first mortgage. Even if it were a line of credit, it would still be in first position. Yes, I will probably never own my home free and clear. And if I still have enough urine and vinegar inside of me 30 years from now, when I pay off my primary home, just naturally, then I will probably take out a line of credit or another mortgage and deploy that money again into rental properties. I did a video about why I would never pay off my mortgage early. I got a few people that commented negatively on that because they are of like the Dave Ramsey mindset where you shouldn't have a mortgage on your home and that peace of mind equals being debt free. But kind of in that video, what I did was I broke down all the expenses that you have that's tied up in your mortgage and which ones are there forever and which ones actually go away if you own your property free and clear. And the only expenses that go away if you own your property free and clear is the principal and the interest, but you're still going to be paying the taxes, you're still going to be paying the insurance, and you're still going to have, any sort of repairs, maintenance issues that arise. So on my personal mortgage, I broke it down on that video. I think by paying off my home, I would only save $500 per month, but it would cost me $180,000 to pay off my home. So I'm not interested in deploying $180,000 only to make, $6,000 a year. That's a bad investment. I don't know the actual percentage on that, but pretty low. Whereas if I were to take $180,000 and buy 4 or 5 rentals here in the area, the return would be a lot higher. So especially with as low as interest rates are, it always makes sense to get as much money as you possibly can at the lowest interest rates for the longest term possible so that you could deploy it into investments that make you more than the interest rate it is that you're borrowing from. Now, I only give this advice to people that are good with their money, which since you are on this channel at 8:30 in the morning, that's probably you. I would not give this advice to somebody that would be interested in borrowing money and, like, you know, eating or drinking it away. Speaking of, let me put this banner up here because I don't know what I'm talking about. There we go. Disclaimer. But that covers up the seek-wisdom.com/join. Man, just when I thought I was getting the hang of this, let's just take that away for now. Sweet. Man, look at this. I'm getting better at this. Do you like my little live Q&A with Ryan Ingram? Is that covered up by anything in the top left part of your screen? Would you mind letting me know that? I'm very interested. All right, let's see. Oh, there's a part 2 to this, R&R. Yes. I think I answered your question, but I'm a huge fan. Growing family, thank you for being an ambassador for helping people grow. Yeah, thank you for being interested in growing. Man, this is what life is all about, right? Being the best version of yourself for the benefit of all of those around you. That's what I think the meaning of life is. All right. MH. Man, R&R and MH, you guys are doubling down on the anonymity, huh? I don't even know how to address you properly. When buying, you guys know my name, but I might start going by RI just to fit in with my subscribers, apparently. When buying a foreclosure or cash property, how do you determine what work is needed? Are complete guts expensive? Here in this market, I would say not the mechanicals, but the actual rehab. 30 grand will probably get you through redoing everything inside of the home. That's not including the roof or the mechanicals. So your furnace is probably going to be about 2 grand. Central air, probably 1,500 to 2 grand. Water heater, 600 to 1,200, depending on how fast you need it and who's available. Ductwork, I mean, the most expensive ductwork that I've run so far has been like 500 or 700. And then the roof could be anywhere between 4 grand, and I think the most expensive roof I've paid for so far is 13 grand. So in theory, 50 to 60 grand will get you an entire home, brand new flooring, mechanicals, new drywall everywhere. That's about what we have into one property that we did, where there were like 13 full-size dog cages inside of the property, like outdoor dog cages. Inside the property though, when we acquired the property, and we've got about 60 grand into it, which is just about dollar for dollar what it's worth. So we should be finished with that one today. I think the people are moving in tomorrow. So I'm going to try to get out there on my way home to take pictures of it before people move in, because that is the biggest, most emotional rehab that I've done yet. So pretty serious. Thank you. His name is Lincoln, and he's really fun. So now I've got 2 boys and 2 girls, and I'm really excited about it. What kind of hardware for doors, cabinet, pools would you recommend for a nice rental grade single family home? Looking for ideas that's not dated. I am very hands off when it comes to picking out the items to be used inside of a rehab. I'm a huge fan of giving contractors a little bit of kind of pride of ownership and just kind of taking the reins on the actual things that are used. Now, there's a high level of trust that I have with my contractors. So if I were working with someone for the first time, perhaps I'd be a little bit more involved. And I remember going through this with with the contractors that I have now, spending a few hours across a project talking about price points for cabinets and price points for the pools and all of that. Just recently on this one that we did, my contractor went out, got the ones that were on sale, and then painted them an appropriate color to match with some paint that should last for a long time on the pools. I don't know how I feel about that, but man, pools are getting really expensive. So We'll see. We'll see what happened. I think he got all the pools for like, I don't know, $40 just to like, the actual ones that we used to use when we first started rehabbing projects were like $4 to $6 each now, maybe. I loosely remember this conversation because it just happened days ago when we were all sleep deprived waiting on the new baby. New baby. Sacred Space found a teardown in Weston, Connecticut. Really nice flat lot areas. New construction goes for $900K to 1.2. Build is about 600. Would you take on hard money loan, 11% on it? Your approach? No, I don't think so, but I could be wrong. How long? It depends on. Oh man, this is why I wanted my brother to join us. Let's see if he said he would join. Nope. He did not say he would join. So my brother is the one that does the majority of the math problems associated with real estate investing. So he would have a phenomenal answer for this, and he would be able to tell you the things that you should look out for. But if I were to act like my brother, and if I were to say things that sound like what my brother would say, I would really focus on how long it would take, because 11% might work. I mean, that's just around 60 grand a year. But if you can make those payments and you could sell it for $1 million, I mean, so long as all of your out-of-pocket expenses and holding costs leave enough meat on the bone for you to make a sizable profit of 200-300, then perhaps I would do it. It really comes down to the financing. And I have a mentor here in the single family home space. He has, anywhere between 600 and 800 homes. I'm really not sure. And one of the first things that, he told me was pretty much all of this, the money is made in the details of the financing. So you could buy properties for over market price if the finance terms are favorable to you. Man, I don't know. I hope that was helpful. 11%, our approach has been friends and family. There's no origination points. There's no fees associated with that money. The only fees are like the attorney fees for drafting up the mortgage note, and then the title company's recording fees. That's the only fees that are associated with that money. So it's not hard money. I've never used hard money on any deals because of the very high percentage points charged for origination. It hasn't made sense in our market. But again, a $600,000 spread, you've got a lot of room to play here if you can sell it for top market, which if it's a new build, and if your teardown costs don't eat into that too much, man, financing, it's a really holistic thing. It depends on what you need to do. Houses can vary. You can always do future updates if it's a rental. Oh, look at that. I missed it. Man, I feel like I missed a lot of stuff. Oh, no. I haven't got there yet. That's what it is. Okay, here we go. Okay, cool. All right. I think I see what a lot of people have commented on, how I skip questions sometimes. I can't figure this thing out because I'm not right on YouTube. I am on an app called Streamyard. Oh, look at that. My brother is here. He made a comment. Man, this is tough. Yeah, see there? I tried to channel you, Will. I tried to channel my inner Will Ingram. So thanks for doing that. This is cool that you two are talking. I think a few YouTube people have started like Discord servers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Discord servers, but I think it would be really cool to create a place where my subscribers could talk to each other about real estate investing, and one that we could just keep running in the background. Because while I have opinions and I'm here on YouTube sharing those with you, I think it's really powerful for a bunch of guys to get together and share each other's opinions, which is why I started that mastermind group. Look at this. Looks good. Oh, thanks. That's about the top left-hand corner. Nice to meet you, Ryan. It's German. Something's German. This is tough to keep up with. I'm falling off. Let me focus. My brother, here we go. How do you find pre-foreclosure homes? So I have had a bunch of people on this channel mention PropStream recently. So I think I'm actually going to reach out to PropStream. They contacted me a while back to see if I was interested in doing like a tutorial. And the answer that I would normally give to this on how to find pre-foreclosures is to dig through your county records online. Generally, you can add a database or you can download the database of all the parcel numbers, the ones that are, behind on taxes, the ones that are in the foreclosure process that have like been filed for in the courthouse. So you can take the county auditor's records and also the courthouse records and kind of merge the two of those. I've been doing that manually and also just taking advantage of the sheriff sales, all those spreadsheets that they put out. But apparently PropStream does all of this for you. So I need to take that tutorial because I think it's $100 per month. And I think Louis Porter Jr. on this channel is a big fan of that. And he said that he's found a few good properties via PropStream. So I think I would recommend it, but I haven't taken the tutorial and I haven't received an affiliate link yet. So I'm going to wait to really push it until I get an affiliate link, just to make sure and take the tutorial to see if it's what Louis Porter Jr. says it is. We'll see. I sure did have a phenomenal Thanksgiving, and it was very untraditional because my wife could have popped at any given moment. So we did not do a traditional turkey breakfast because we didn't travel and we didn't have any family over, but we did. And my kids would not. I mean, my kids are all under the age of 4, so they would not eat the majority of traditional Thanksgiving foods yet. So we had a massive, massive pancake breakfast. I got one of those outdoor griddles. I cooked up some pancakes, some eggs, some sausage, some bacon. We had it in excess. It was awesome. MH, would you suggest hiring a home inspector to look at property? If it is your first couple deals and you're not quite sure what to look for, yes. Yes, I would. I think we hired home inspectors for our first 4 or 5 properties, but I do not believe that I would continue to hire them. Once you know what to look for, I think you can probably start trusting yourself. And while, okay, so there's 2 different answers here. Let me catch myself. So I was doing the math today because I have missed a few things. I missed a roof lately when I walked through it, which was about 10 grand. If we reach 100 homes, $500 for the home inspection each, that would be about 50 grand that we would have spent on inspections. So if I can buy 100 homes and not miss 50 grand worth of items, then I did good. But if you are not investing for like quantity or a lot of properties, and if your average home value is $100,000+, then it might make sense to always get an inspection. If you're going to have 5 to 10 properties, it might be better to get them inspected. I know one of the guys here just had an inspection done, and because of the inspection, he saved himself an immense amount of money by not buying the property because of all the things that were wrong with it, including termite damage that was going to collapse the whole house or something very dramatic like that. So sometimes, it really depends on your overall game plan. Yes, Will is very much so, my brother. 1L, though. 1L, Sacred Space. PropStream is great if you are not a realtor. It is basically a more detailed MLS system. I subscribed for 2 months. Great if you are a flipper. Okay, so you're already in and out of that. Cool. So now when you need it again, you could use my future referral link. All right. Any other questions? Let's see here. So I'm using this thing called Streamyard, and if I play my cards right, then I can get my brother on here somehow, so he can answer everyone's questions too. So it's just a matter of time. I have this owner financing deal for a fourplex. He wants 175 grand with 25% down. How do I know if it is a good deal? Well, first off, congratulations for negotiating owner financing. I have no idea how you found this deal, came across this deal, or what the terms are. But when owner financing works, it is a very beautiful thing. I would be a little bit suspicious and thoroughly vet any sort of owner financing deal that was offered to me. Man, I want to know how to articulate this better. If you are not experienced and they are very experienced, then generally the owner finance deal will benefit them more than it will you. I think that's all I'm trying to say. So I would definitely say if this was an owner financing deal that was offered to you, then you should definitely research it a lot and make sure that it is a good deal, because the general rule of thumb that I've heard one of my mentors say is you can have the purchase price or the terms, but never both. So if this guy wants to sell it for 175 grand, but the market value on it is like 125, that might be okay if the terms are favorable to you. If the terms are not favorable, then the purchase price should be lower. So make sure you're either getting a good purchase price or really favorable terms. And I wouldn't agree to a balloon too quickly. But also 25% down doesn't sound like it's in your favor. 25% down is like working with a bank. And that's one of the benefits of owner financing is that they are not a bank. So if you have really bad credit, or if you are in some position that the bank wouldn't lend to you, owner financing might be a good option. But if you are in a position to get bank financing, then the bank, if you have to put 25% down, the bank is probably going to be more favorable than the owner financing. So if you are bankable and you have to put 25% down, I would make sure that the owner finance terms are better than what the bank would possibly offer you. Otherwise, there's no incentive to do business with this owner financed fella. Courtney Allen. Hello, Courtney Allen. It's phenomenal to meet you. And since I have never seen your name on my channel, I would like to say thank you for being one of the 4,600 subscribers. If you find this channel of any benefit and of any value, please request that your friend or your mom or dad subscribe to the channel too. Thanks. What is the first step in the process of buying a house that is already in foreclosure by the bank in New Jersey? So if it is in foreclosure by the bank, then it is already foreclosed on. If it's already foreclosed on, then you just have to deal with the bank's realtor, and it's going to be no different than buying any other home on the MLS. If it's still in the foreclosure process, then you would show up at the courthouse. The bank will probably have someone present to bid it up to the loan amount. That way the bank doesn't lose any money. And then you could just outbid the bank and you could own it before the bank ever does. But due diligence is paramount. So definitely do that. Make sure the ARV is good. Make sure that the rental rate will beat your expenses. And make sure that the amount of rehab that it needs doesn't put you over what the market value of the property is. So the first step is always due diligence, making sure that the neighborhood's good, that the property is good, and then, make sure that you have enough exit strategies. Are you going to flip it? If you're going to flip it, then are you able to acquire it, rehab it, and hold it for a short enough amount of time for it to be a profitable deal? Lewis Porter Jr., you're on fire. You're my favorite favorite live stream viewer. So regular. Thanks for always hanging out with you Friday morning, man. How do you know if a property is a good deal? So my brother and I's strategy is investing in like one, maybe two neighborhoods. So we have thoroughly vetted 1 to 2 neighborhoods. And since we have been doing this for a few years now, we are really in tune with what the neighborhood is. So we kind of know what a property is worth based on how much work it needs and, what street it's on. So that is a benefit of being so dialed in. Other than that, that a property is a good deal by figuring out what type of return you want, what type of outcome you want, your long-term goals, and making sure that all of them fit together. Real estate is one of these beautiful things that there are so many different ways to skin this cat to make boatloads of money that it really comes down to your personal preference. My brother and I right now, we prefer single family homes. We can make money in multifamily and apartment complexes. We can make money in Airbnb. But we choose to do single family homes in the normal rental fashion. So it really comes down to what you want, what parameters you set for yourself, and making sure that it's consistent with those. So like Lewis Porter Jr. on the call, he is a fan if a property meets like the 1% rule where he is down in Florida, where my brother and I probably wouldn't buy a home here that only meets the 1% rule because we're looking for like 2 or more percent. A good friend of mine just bought a property for, like 25 grand, I think. And it's a 5-bedroom house. It needs 15 grand worth of work, I think. And it's going to rent out for $1,100 a month, maybe. So that's like a 3% deal, maybe even 4%. Looking through the county records for deals like you mentioned, it's not a bad idea. Or we could just do a tutorial on PropStream. That's more scalable, because if I did a tutorial on what it's like to do this for Montgomery County, if I were to go one county over and look at Greene County, the way you do everything for Greene County is completely different. Of course, the fundamentals are the same, but the way you access that information and sort that information is drastically different. Yeah. I mean, pretty much everything is open source so long as you're willing to put in the work. I mean, like I've got a friend who spends hours researching in depth, like one property at a time. And I mean, she goes all the way through like the owner records. She pretty much does a title search on the property. You could tell who has liens. If you dig hard enough, you might even be able to figure out how much the liens are for. But again, from what I know about PropStream, that might be a better option, because at that point, I mean, she spends hours on one property that she might not even purchase. So at that point, it makes sense to pay $100 per month for PropStream if it's all of the same information and it saved you the hours of research. 3747. You mentioned getting into real estate in order to provide for your family more favorably and for university for your kids. Why don't you just teach them real estate investing to not be a W-2? So that is a phenomenal question. I have a master's degree and I started getting a PhD before I realized, okay, so first off, I'm what do they call it? ABD for a PhD, all but dissertation. And it was in organizational leadership or business development. And then I realized that, the whole degree was based on, and I'm thick-skulled, I'm stubborn. But so it took me a long time to realize this. I made it all the way through a master's and some of a PhD before I did. But all of the people that I studied about uh, did not have a PhD, and the whole. So this is only true for some industries. For others, it's definitely necessary to have tons of education. But what I was in is I was studying CEOs that went into distressed businesses and turned them around via improving the culture, lowering expenses, increasing revenue through like a myriad of avenues, right? And then it just hit me one day that I was spending, probably like a serious working week doing all sorts of research on these people. And none of these people had PhDs or any of the education that I was getting studying them. So neither did any of my professors. And the professors that I had weren't none of them were the CEOs that went in and turned these companies around. So I realized if I just got into capitalism, if I actually started doing all of these things rather than getting an education about it, then I would probably be better off. And I'd be making money rather than spending money to do these studies. So that's when my opinion about education started to turn. And then when I actually, got into the nitty gritty and actually started trying to increase my income, I realized that all of the things that were paramount to me increasing my income were not taught to me in like your traditional schooling at all. So I know Will and I have different opinions about school. So I would not be offended if my kids did not go to college, because I think that uh, if they do their own research, because we're in the information age, everything that you could possibly need to know is available with one click on Ryan Ingram's YouTube channel. I'm just kidding. On the internet worldwide. So you could find anything about anything, and then you could immediately put into practice all of the things that you learn. So, education most certainly has its place. I plan on teaching my kids everything that I know about real estate investing and being an entrepreneur, starting businesses, growing businesses. I find it to be fascinating and tons of fun. However, I'm not going to be militant about it. And the world is full of vastly different people, and that is very much so necessary. So my loose plan is to, as soon as my kids get to college age, I'm not going to force them to go to college, but I'm also going to make sure that they have a plan, right? And if they have a plan, then I'm down to just give them 30, 40, 50 grand a year. They could use that to go to college, or they could use that to start a business and, get into real estate investing. And, sitting on the couch is not an option. But let's say one of my kids wants to, do something charitable or nonprofit like, or be a teacher or a doctor or an attorney, then a bunch of schooling is necessary. But at the same time, it might not be necessary by the same token. So it really depends on the personality of the kid, because just, money's a tool, and like real estate is used to live, a better version of your life. So whatever your long-term goal is for when you're 50, when you're 60, you utilize real estate and money as a means to ultimately arrive there. There's no one way to get to where you want to go. It's just about enjoying the experience on your way. So I'm not going to force real estate down to any of my kids, but at the same time, I'm not going to force them to go to school just to get a degree. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what school looks like on the other side of this pandemic that we're in. No, Rocco, I do nothing myself. I don't even think I've changed a light bulb in any of my properties. Don't judge me too harshly, though. When you run numbers, how much is just a guessing game? All of this is a guessing game, Stephen Brown. All of real estate is a guessing game. Every time I run numbers, I get pretty low returns, like 8 to 12%. I would say that's pretty good returns, Stephen Brown. I think that almost all of this is a guessing game, especially when you get into capital expenditures and repairs and maintenance. And I've been trying to figure out a way to do a video on this where I actually allow people to kind of visualize the things it is that I'm talking about. So let's say you've got, I don't know. I hate the way that people budget for capital expenditures and repairs and maintenance and vacancy because it's not real. And if you have, just one or two properties, there's no way that you could possibly set aside enough money to fix all of the things that could possibly go wrong with the property. Real estate is one of those things where it has to be done in quantity, or you have to earn enough income elsewhere to float any of the expenses that are occurred on one property. So you're correct. I would disagree with the low returns, like 8 to 12%, but I would agree with the guessing game. And I think that's I think that's why I even wanted to do this YouTube channel to begin with. Is a lot of these people are on here talking about real estate, like just do X, Y, and Z and it'll work out perfectly. But I know a lot of guys that make I talked to one guy in Chicago. He's got 80 properties, or had 80 properties when I talked to him about a year and a half ago. And they were all valued at like $125,000. But in order for him to pay himself, he had to sell one property per year. And he built his portfolio in a way where he bought a lot of them distressed. So he had a bunch of equity in them. But he was playing this crazy game where he was selling a property to unlock the equity so that he had enough to live for that year, plus buy a few additional properties. So it was kind of like he was recycling his equity endlessly. And, the people that are taking to the internet claiming that they have retired after owning 5 to 20 properties, even 40 properties, there's no way. There's no way. 4% deal sounds like a unicorn. Well, not so much. Not so much. I wouldn't say they're the most common things, but they're definitely more common than unicorns. I think we've done a few 4% deals, but we've never found a unicorn. I'm definitely a subscriber. Thanks for your content. Why do experts like single-family homes versus multifamily homes? It's a personal preference. There's so many different ways to skin a cat. I've said that too many times. I'm banning myself on this live stream to talk about skinning any more poor, innocent cats. It's over. There's a lot of different ways to make money out there, and there's a lot of different ways to utilize real estate to get to whatever your goals might be. I prefer single family homes for very petty reasons. The reasons that I prefer single family homes is I think people stay there longer. You hear about one person living in a house for 15 years. It makes sense. You hear about a person living in the same apartment for 15 years. I don't know. You just have more questions, right? It's easier, in my opinion, to convince people to have pride of ownership of the single family home that they have, rather than pride of ownership inside of an apartment. Single family homes give you a lot more solitude. Your neighbor issues are a lot fewer and far between than kind of the inter-tenant drama or intra-tenant drama. I'm not sure which one to use there. I mean, we had one duplex, and it was a duplex. It was a small family home, but it's a top and bottom unit. And man, top and bottom duplexes are hands down the worst because, they're never happy with each other, especially here, because a lot of the duplexes in the area were built as single family homes and converted to duplexes. I don't think the way that I am talking about single family homes versus multi-family homes is reciprocal, though. I think if you were to talk to somebody that is a fan of multi-family homes, then they would absolutely bash single family homes, saying, they'd probably mention my two least favorite buzzwords that people that are a fan of multifamily say is We only have to replace one roof. I guess that's not really a buzzword. And then also economies of scale. That's my least favorite thing. It makes me cringe. It makes me angry when people want to talk about economies of scale. Thanks, 3D of Tom. Courtney, single family home rentals usually stay longer. With multis, the tenants could also scabble amongst themselves. However, in some markets, single family homes don't cash flow. Not the case in Ohio. Man, you took the words right out of my mouth. I could have saved myself 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 minutes if I just read these comments. How do you feel about real estate syndication? It's not for me, but I could see how it is beneficial. I would say syndication has its spot. For those of you that don't know, syndication is raising money from a bunch of people in order to purchase one deal. So let's say an apartment complex costs $1 million. You go around to 10 to 15 to 20 people and you raise the $1 million. You have to do so very carefully inside of the SEC guidelines. And then generally syndications, they have like what's called an operator. So the person that's actually doing all of the things like, managing the property, making sure all the numbers work, staying on top of things, making sure all the investors get paid. So some of these syndicators will talk about how they own 8,000 units, but they might only own 1% of the 8,000 units because they syndicated the deal. Now they might get a larger percentage of the payout once the property sells. They might be collecting a management fee, but I don't know. I think for me, real estate investing is more of a hobby. My brother and I got into it in order to make sure that we had the ability to pay for all of our kids' colleges. And it's just kind of continually grown. And it's something that I'm passionate about. I have tons of fun with. And it seems like the fewer hands in the pot, the better off the deal is and the better off the maintenance is. So we've got a few partnerships, nothing like syndication, but just a few partnerships. And they're not necessarily bad, but when it's just my brother and I, and we can make the decisions on the fly ourselves without consulting anyone or talking to anyone, it just goes a little bit smoother. Syndication might be a good thing if you need capital. If you don't need capital, I don't see the appeal of syndication. Same for crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, I'm not necessarily opposed to. Crowdfunding, you can potentially not give away any equity. But I'm not familiar enough with crowdfunding to really speak on it in a very educated manner. But that's why I have this disclaimer down here, because I'm not educated about anything. Would you do out-of-state rehabs? If not, we are in North New Jersey. How far out would you go? Personally, this is another personal preference. There are a lot of people that do out-of-state investing successfully. I recently had a conversation with a property manager, and I am always perplexed by the business models of property management companies in C and D areas. Because let's say a property rents out for $500 a month, and the management fee is 10%. That is $50 a month that you're paying somebody to manage the property. $50 a month, since that is the property management company's income, they're going to be taxed on it. So it's going to be less than $50 a month. So how much time can that property manager spend on your property in 1 month before they go negative? So let's say they have to hire somebody for $20 an hour, which is like 40 grand a year. So it's not a high paying job. So they can spend about an hour and a half on your property before they actually start losing money, maybe 2 hours. And if they spend more than 2 hours, then now the property manager is losing money because they still have to pay the person. And then I get it that quantity is the way around this. But when it comes to quantity, you're going to have to increase your quantity to a bandwidth that you can still handle yourself before it gets overwhelming. And I think that's really difficult. And I don't think it's sustainable. So this property manager actually told me that he said that's correct. The money is made on the repairs and maintenance, and all of these properties in C and D areas always have more than enough maintenance to do in any given month, which means the property manager, in order to make themselves whole and in order to make enough money to continue doing what they're doing, they have to charge you tons of overrides for repairs and maintenance, and they have to come up with things to fix, and they might not need to be fixed. So I'm not saying out-of-state investing is impossible. I'm saying out-of-state investing in C and D neighborhoods is probably very difficult. So if you are interested in out-of-state investing, then I would say you should probably increase the estimated amount of time that you're going to be involved in this, because you're going to want to have some extreme oversight over your properties so as not to get nickeled and dimed out of all of your profits. As far as out-of-state rehabs go, from the insurance perspective, I have a lot of clients that get rehabs done that they live out of state, and the contractors seem to be very willing to say that they completed a job without actually completing the job, because the investor is out of state and they can get paid before the job is completed. And then the chances of them actually coming back and finishing the job are very slim. So I know a few people that do this out-of-state rehab and investing very well, but I think a commonality amongst all of them is for extended days, they actually stay here in the area. So one of the clients that I have actually just bought a property that he's going to use to live in when he comes here, and then Airbnb when he's not here. And that's just so he can oversee his rehabs and his property manager a little bit closer for those exact same reasons. Ash, that's a good name. That actually made the list when we were trying to name our most recent baby, Asher. We considered Asher as a middle name, albeit briefly. We picked out his middle name inside the hospital on the back of an envelope. If you don't do any work on your property, who does all of the work on refurbishment and runs behind all the things that need to be done? If I said no one, would you believe me? I'm just kidding. We've got 3 guys that have crews. We use 3 contractors very regularly, and I have a very high level of trust for all of them. So in theory, let's say that somebody tells me that something needs to be done. Let me think of a work order. Okay, so recently we had a windstorm come through and it knocked down a piece of a fence. So I got that work order and I sent it to one of the guys that I trust a lot. And I said, hey, are you able to handle this? And he said, yes. And now he's going out there to fix the fence. Generally, he'll send me a picture of him completing the fence and then send me a request via Venmo to pay him. And I will happily oblige. So I think this really comes down to relationships and trust. I've got an electrician that I like a lot. I would say all the contractors are about the same. I mean, I have a very high level of trust and a good relationship with all the contractors I use. And we have enough properties to where we keep a lot of people pretty busy. And, you know, one of the things that I didn't realize that was happening that I'm very thankful for is if I have an issue, since we're at this point kind of a bulk of some contractors' business, they will actually rearrange some things in their schedule in order to handle any of the issues that we are having. And that means the world to me. So contractors are the best. Get on their good side and the world flows a lot better. I don't mind Section 8 at all, Sacred Space. I don't have too many Section 8 properties. The issue here on Section 8 properties is that I've heard is so on an annual basis, they have to come out and inspect the properties. And if something needs to be done, they'll ask you to fix it, which is perfectly fine because I don't believe in deferred maintenance and I want to fix everything and I want to do it the right way the first time. So the first inspector will come out and ding you on a few things and ask you to fix them, which generally most people oblige. The issue and the frustration is when those repairs have been done a second inspector will come out. And in addition to checking those initial things that the first inspector dinged, they will also find other issues and ding you on them as well. So Section 8 would be a lot easier and make a lot of people in this area happier if the second inspector that came to verify didn't have the ability to ding you on additional things. But I haven't experienced that. That's just what I've heard through the old coconut grapevine or coconut tree grapevine. You can either hear something through the grapevine or down the coconut tree, but not the coconut grapevine. I'm looking for a mentor. Do you have some time to catch up? Sure. I don't mind that at all. Check out the video that I did on Seek Wisdom. It's seekwisdom.com, seek-wisdom.com/join. That's a mastermind group that I run. There's about 16 really cool, hard charging guys that are in the group. We have a group that meets on Monday and a group that meets on Tuesday. And we really get into it. Check out the video on that. It's just called Seek Wisdom Mastermind. It's one of the more recent videos that I've done apart from these live streams. And I walk through exactly what we do. Great for money coming in on time. Yes, that's true. Unless, that's the other thing that I forgot to mention about these inspections is while the first inspector dings you on those things, they withhold your rent money until the repairs are done. So that's when it gets really frustrating, especially if the second inspector comes back out and dings you on additional things, because now the entire time that you're making all these repairs and waiting for the Section 8 people to come back and talk to you and re-inspect the property, you're not getting paid. So if you've just got a couple properties, or if you're, heavily reliant on that rental income, then it's very difficult. Without paying for PropStream, how do you check liens on auction houses? The county recorder's website. So generally, these are available online. From an insurance standpoint, I tried to find some information about a property in South Carolina, and this county in South Carolina had 0 records available online. You had to call down, and they had to manually look through filing cabinets in order to get information to me. And even then, they didn't have the information on file. And they just said their best guess was that the house was built, before. It was some really strange number, like 1970 or something. It's like, well, what happened to all your records before 1970? Because that wasn't that long ago. It's not like people were still, writing with quills or fountain pens back then. That was more of a rant, not an answer to your question. No, I answered it. The county recorder, a mix between the auditor and the county recorder's office. The county recorder, they have all of the deeds, mortgages, liens associated with the property on file. And you just have to, it's just a bunch of manual reading. Is there a price threshold that you would not consider? No. The price is irrelevant. So if a property cost $1 million, but it made me $1 million per year, I wouldn't bat an eye at that price. It really just comes down to the return. Is there a return that I wouldn't consider? We really shoot for 2%. Out of that comes our expenses. So, I mean, after all of our expenses, if we can make, $200 to $300 a month or more, then we're pretty happy. Are you going into commercial real estate investing? I have a commercial spot under contract at the moment. We're going to close in the first week of January. And it is it's a building because it's real estate. But there are 2 apartments upstairs, and both of them are rented out for $400 a month, which that is what made me comfortable with the deal, because we're buying it for $75,000. The upstairs is rented out for $800. So before we even do anything with the downstairs, it's still a 1% property. Previously, it was a bar. We obviously won't keep it as a bar, but it is in the heart of where all of our properties are, which is why we wanted to buy it. We're going to try to do something in that bottom space that benefits the community. So the jury's still out. We're probably going to have the property for, a few months before I actually figure out what that thing will be. But right now it's perfectly set up to be a bar. It's got a nice bar there. We thought about trying to turn it into a coffee shop, but we're not sure if the neighborhood's ready for a coffee shop. I think I answered that pretty well. Sorry, I didn't finish the question. Is there a price threshold you would not consider to be a good deal? No, it really comes down to the return. I've bought a property for $1,000, and the most we've spent on a property so far has been 100 and I think the most we've spent on a property is $100,000, and that was a 4-unit. Yes, that's true. What I just said was true. $100,000 is the most we've spent on one property. Our highest valued property is $133,000, but we did not spend $133,000 on it. All that to say, it really comes down to the return. Some areas have a shortage of Section 8 properties. They are offering landlords $5K in Cincy and $1K in Northern Kentucky here to get more rentals that accept vouchers. That's a good move. I mean, supply demand, that's a real thing. For the longest time, I know that Dayton has a shortage of 4 and 5 bedroom homes on Section 8. So I was doing my very best to figure out how to build 4 and 5 bedroom homes here in the area to fill the demand for that, because it's pretty serious. And I think they're paying, $1,200 plus for 4 and 5 bedroom homes at the moment, which, is a really good chunk of change for this area. So I'm not opposed to Section 8 at all. I would really enjoy working alongside them to make sure that they have all of the properties that they would like to have. When I was trying to do that, I couldn't make the numbers work because, building a home of that size just wasn't cost efficient yet for the area. But I got to be honest, I didn't put as much effort into trying to solve that problem as I should have in order to be sitting in front of you guys saying it didn't work. I think so too. What is your daily routine for checking the market and running the numbers? I feel like I should be doing more for finding deals here in the Toledo market. I just got the first one under contract. Congrats, Stephen Brown. That's awesome. Getting your first deal under contract is always a phenomenal feeling, and good for you. A lot of people get stuck in the whole analysis paralysis. So good job on taking action. You probably should be doing a little bit more, but I don't know what that more would be. I mean, this whole pandemic has been really difficult in networking with wholesalers and realtors, but you should probably try and figure out a way to do that. I get mail every day from people looking to buy properties. They just, they pull information out of the auditor's website, and anybody that, has a rental property, I think. I'm sure they have more parameters than that, but they do a bunch of direct mail marketing. Getting active, Toledo Facebook groups, Toledo real estate investors. I'm sure a quick Google search there would get you a bunch of groups. Being on Bigger Pockets, probably a good thing. Just trying to network with people virtually. The more feelers you put out, I mean, all of life is just one giant math problem, right? So if you want more properties, if you want more deals, you have to reach out to more people and network with more people that might have the deals. And if you don't, or if you're not satisfied with your deal flow, you need to increase your network or marketing efforts. Let's see here. Mobile home, trailer homes for rentals, found a lot of 22 $225,000 with 23 acres, 4 mobile homes on it, but one of them is trashed. I don't know anything about mobile homes or trailer parks. I think my brother and I looked into it briefly, but again, we didn't put so much energy into it that we ever really formed an opinion one way or another. I think if we didn't live in the market that we live in, then we would probably put more energy into this kind of investment. But we bought a property for $18,000 earlier this year, just a few months ago, 18 grand, and it's rented out for 650. And there's not a shortage of deals like that here in the area. So we haven't necessarily been forced to or felt the need to look for alternative methods of investing, like a trailer park. Communal well and individual septics. Township says we can add 20 more. What would you think on this? It is outside of Kingston, New York. I don't know anything about Kingston, New York, but I know a lot about 23 acres. Man, you're looking at an acre per mobile home. I would look into this. I would look into it a lot. I would figure out what the return is, and I would figure out what you can buy trailers for. And I would figure out what the market for trailers is. Is this something where you need new trailers, or is there a market for used trailers? If there's a market for used trailers, how many used trailers can you get? And what would the return on each trailer be? I mean, it really comes down into the financing and the returns. And I mean, I think I like this setup a lot because you can grow at your own pace. You don't have to go out and buy 20 at once. Each time you get some extra cash, each time you get a big bonus at work, you can just get another trailer. That'd be pretty cool. Good morning, Joseph Wilson. Thank you. I appreciate it. He's awesome. I like him a lot. The first night he was home, it's been, my youngest daughter is 13 months, so I can't say it's been too long since we've had a newborn in the house, but it really caught me off guard. I thought there were 2 stray cats outside fighting. That's what his cries sounded like. Make the coffee shop a destination. Some people might not want to go to this destination, Sacred Space. I'm just kidding. You're right. And it's on the main thoroughfare. It's a phenomenal location. Yeah, maybe I could make it a destination. Maybe I could do the live streams from the coffee shop, and I don't know how to flesh out that idea. I was just being silly and I got myself stuck. How has the government intervention of the housing market affected your personal portfolio of real estate? So far, the government really hasn't intervened that much. So it hasn't affected me at all as of yet. All of our tenants are still paying. They're doing a really good job. The ones that are going to be late have been very vocal in letting us know that they're going to be late and when they're going to pay. So here personally, we haven't experienced too many issues at all. MH is in Cook County, Chicago area. Everything here is a runaround. Stumbled on your channel last Friday and subscribed. Thank you, MH. I really appreciate it. Chicago sounds tough. I insure 2 properties in Chicago. One is a triplex and one is a single family home. And I think they do okay. They bought them a long time ago. They're out-of-state investors. But each time, I don't know. I'm trying to think about everything I know about Chicago, but I really don't know anything about Chicago. But thanks for subscribing. And hey, if you ever have any questions and you want to run them by me, let me know. Are you concerned at all of property tax increases that will affect your bottom line over the years? Not really, because the cool thing about rental properties is so as the market increases, so does the rent. It's not like these rents are going to be fixed at a certain amount. If the taxes increase dramatically, then, unfortunately, we're going to have to, as everyone's lease renews, send out a little letter that says, unfortunately, taxes have increased by 80%. So your rent has also increased by 80%. I don't know. I wouldn't be proud of that, but there would have to be some. It would get passed down. I am in Dayton, Ohio. Oh, yeah, I'm in Dayton at 205,000, but the seller selling is with the seller is selling as is with the tenant issue. Is it worth wholesaling or the trouble? I don't know. It really comes down to the return that you're getting and if you think it's a good deal or not. I mean, that's the thing about sweat equity is if it's worth 205,000. Oh, wait a second. This is part two. I found another house. The issue is the tenant problem, and they haven't paid since March and not allowed to see the place till it's under contract. The asking price is 100, and the ARV comps are at 205,000. But the seller's selling as is. Yeah, the thing about sweat equity is, there's going to be some sweat. I mean, walking into $105,000 is a big deal. So you're probably going to have to do $105,000 worth of work. Not necessarily to construction costs and labor costs, but to the amount of time, energy, and effort that you're going to put into it. So, if he's willing to sell at that great of a discount, then, you're going to have to put in some good work. I mean, you could wholesale it. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably keep it because that's a good chunk of change. I don't really care about not being able to see the place until it's under contract. I mean, that's just saying, look, this property is listed at a phenomenal rate. Because of that, I know there's going to be tons of tire kickers. And in order to deter the tire kickers, I'm going to say that you can't look at it until it's under contract. That way, only serious people put it under contract, but all contracts have contingencies. So you can always back out of a contract. I mean, a lot of our contracts are contingent upon me walking through it. And if I walk through it and say, ugh, I don't like this place, then I could back out of the contract. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Part 3 to mobile trailers. We were thinking of doing container homes, 40-foot containers, and convert them into homes. They go for $3,000 each delivered. Build out is about $30K per, plus the cost of the container. I mean, if Kingston, New York allows that, that's not necessarily a bad idea. I would really want to get a lot more information before I started doing stuff like that and figuring out what the demand is. Are there enough people that want to live in container homes? I don't know what it feels like to live in a container home. I don't know what other people, their stigma about living in a container home would be. I'm not sure. You would have to look at the demographic of who you are potentially going to be renting those out to and figure out if they have any apprehension about, living in container homes. And if you find that you're going to attract a different demographic than what you currently rent to, then I would make sure you're going to be okay with that overall demographic shift. And if that would have any impact on the 4 mobile homes that are already out there. All of the people that I have known that were interested in container homes, like to live in one, have been like kind of nomad style millennials. I'm not so sure the adoption of container homes in the Gen X baby boomer type era. So I'd really be curious. And if you're going to change the demographic and if you're going to end up renting to a bunch of millennials, then how long are they going to stay there? Are they going to move out once they have a family? Tons of things to think through. Analysis paralysis. Yep, that's what it is. When someone researches endlessly, because on paper, no deal is ever going to be perfect. There's always going to be unknowns, and some people just have a really difficult time going from paper to reality. So a lot of people just sit around analyzing deal after deal, never pulling the trigger on any of them. So I'm not a fan of sitting on the sidelines ever. So I would always try and buy things rather than not buy things. And on your first deal, of course, nobody wants to lose money, but it's definitely better to lose a little money and get started than it is to never get started. So it's not about whether you make or lose money on the first deal. The first deal is just most important to get started. Yeah. Watch the video. Watch the video. Know what you're getting into. And watch the video. And then if you like what you see, check out the website, theseek-wisdom.com/join. And we'll talk soon. Let's see. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions? I'm excited. There's been a bunch of new people that I've never seen before on this live stream. So that makes me feel like we're growing a little bit. And hey, if you have found this channel of any value, by all means, share it with 2 or 3 people today. That would mean the world to me. Tell them to subscribe. Say, hey, this guy just had a kid. You should subscribe to his channel because he teaches you everything he knows about real estate investing. And I like him, by golly. You mentioned earlier about termite and roof problems causing house to fall. Does insurance pay for that? Probably not. So I think I mentioned that in passing, and I don't think I did too good of a job explaining it. Termite and roof issues. So somebody was selling a house and someone was about to buy a house. So the guy that was about to buy it had the inspection done, and the inspector found a bunch of termite damage. And the thing about insurance is generally it cannot be like a wear and tear issue. Wear and tear is not an insurable event. In order for it to be an insurable event, then there has to be a occurrence, what they call a peril in the insurance world. And that could be wind. So if a tornado came and blew the roof off, then they would repair the roof because the tornado was the cause of loss that is covered under the insurance policy. Let's say you just have old piping. Water is such a finicky thing when it comes to insurance. That's probably a bad thing. So let's just say the roof is old. The roof is a 30-year roof. It is now 50 years old and it just starts leaking. That is not an insurable event. Now, I know in the past, some people have had a really old roof and they have waited until something happens, like a hailstorm or windstorm, and then they'll file a claim saying that the windstorm destroyed their roof when it was truly just an aged roof. And each insurance company handles that differently. But I think the summary of what I'm attempting to say is insurance does not cover wear and tear. I don't know about termite damage. That is really going to depend on what insurance company you have, because unfortunately there's no standard across the board insurance policy. Each one is different and it's all about the fine print. It's not even fine print. It's normal print, 12 times New Roman in the policy form. It's just probably 100 pages that you have to read. Have you thought about getting into laundromat? I have, but not for the fact that it's a good commercial investment, because there's another guy called Investment Joy who has a few videos here on YouTube about him collecting coins from his laundromat, and they all go viral. I don't know why people like coin collecting videos so much, but I thought about buying a laundromat just so I can make those videos and go viral. But hey, because you guys are going to share this channel with 3 to 5 to 15 of your closest friends, I don't need to buy a laundromat because you guys are going to take care of me. I thought about buying a car wash recently for the same thing, just to make those coin collecting videos. Oh yeah, so see, you love coin collecting videos too. You're part of the reason that they're going viral, and you're going to be part of the reason that I go viral, Lewis Porter Jr. I'm in some mastermind groups. Can you share your insurance company's information? Sure. But I don't write insurance everywhere. I only write insurance some places. And a quick Google search of Ryan Ingram Insurance will lead you right to me or the book that I wrote, Rental Property Insurance for Investors. Right there, the blue one. Now, I called it Rental Property Insurance, an investor's guide to insurance, because I wanted to hit all of the keywords. I wanted to get to the point where if you typed in rental property insurance to the Google machine, my book popped up. It's not the case. Now I just have an awkwardly named book, Rental Property Insurance, an investor's guide to insurance. I couldn't remember if I put rental property in there again. How would you suggest someone who wants to start with less than $10,000? Do you think it's possible? I think it's possible, but I don't think it's safe. Real estate is super capital intensive, and I would say if you have less than $10,000, you should probably learn more about money and about skills that you can harness to make more money, rather than get into something, because you could learn a skill and increase your income. And learning a skill and increasing your income doesn't have a large exposure attached to it. So you can't learn a new skill, increase your income, and then get hit with like a road bump and it costs you more money than the skill you just learned, right? But real estate investing, it does have those road bumps, and you can need to spend more than $10,000. Like we had a property where I walked through it. I did everything that I knew how to do, and the basement wall collapsed during a heavy rainstorm. That cost $16,000 to fix. So if you got started with $10,000 and that was the property that you purchased, where would that $6,000 come from? Or would you have a temporarily defunct house until you raise the funds? Either way, I mean, real estate investing is just super capital intensive. He does well with laundromats. He sure does. Investment Joy is a funny channel. It is. And Sacred Space, he also has a trailer park and a lot of security cameras. How do you start your insurance business? That's a great question. Send me an email at ryan@seekwisdom.com, and we could talk about that at some point. Let me put oh, look at that. Man, that's giant. That's my email address, though. Send me an email. Send me an email. We'll get right to the bottom of it. I'll walk you through how I started it. It was fun. I started it in April of, I don't remember, 18 or 19, April of 18. I've been in insurance for like 4 or 5 years now. Totally. Starting money, starting with little money is a different question than raising 250. And I would even argue that raising 250,000 is a skill that is learned once you run out of capital and have no money. So it's just one of those things where if you have no money, you're going to have to incur more risk than the potential reward. And it's long-term, 30, 40 years, it makes total sense. But in the short term, it's really not advisable. I could not in good faith say, oh, you don't have any money? You should get started in real estate investing, right? It's more complex of that. So it's a question that I get asked a lot. Absolutely. You're free to email me as much as you'd like. I saw that and I lost my train of thought. Yeah, ultimately, I know a lot of people that had $0 and now they own, 200 plus doors. But at the same time, the amount of exposure that he was incurring was massive. And I know for an extended amount of time, like he didn't pay taxes, he didn't pay insurance. It really depends on how you build it. And, it's risk. But hey, if you're willing to take it on, then the reward might be nice. 30 years, it makes sense. 2 years, you might find yourself in a world of trouble. For sure. For sure. Ryan at seekwisdom.us. That goes right to my old cell phone. I'm checking it right now. Nobody's emailed me yet, but I got a lot of other emails. And my brother emailed me. He made a brief appearance. All right, let's see here. Any other questions? Questions, real estate questions. I'm going to answer those. If you have them, you should ask them. We've got 20 people here. I was about to say we should call it a day, but then 20 people are still on. So I could probably go for a little bit longer if you guys want to ask some questions. But to fill this awkward space where nobody's asking questions, I will say a few things. So if you're just watching, and if you just tuned in, thanks. We recently hit 4,600 subscribers, and I couldn't possibly be more appreciative or thrilled. Started this channel earlier this year just because of the lockdown, because all of my client meetings just got wiped off my calendar, and I had no idea what to do. So I never thought that I would have met virtually 4,600 people this year. So it's my goal to reach 5,000 this year by the end of the year. So if you can pick 100 of your closest friends and share this channel with them, I'd be forever appreciative. Oh man, I'm hilarious. Because each time I've mentioned the 4,600 subscribers, I've increased the amount of people that I've requested that you share it with. I started with 1 to 2, right? And then it was 3 to 5. And then I went so high as to 15. And now I'm at 100. So see, the longer that you're on this live stream, the higher the stakes get. What's the best way to get started? Education and networking. That's the best way to get started. Educating yourself. The more that you read, the more that you learn about real estate investing, the fewer mistakes that you're going to make when you get started. Networking, the more people that you surround yourself that are like-minded, that are interested in building the same kind of future that you're in or that you're interested in, the better you're going to be able to feed off each other, help each other, and just having that open dialogue or a network of people that you can just ask questions to when you reach hurdles like this. You're going to start mitigating more and more of your risks. And all of those things are free to do with no money. Educating yourself and also surrounding yourself with better people. Or not better people, but people that are interested in the same things that you are. And I would say that the thing a lot of people miss is at the beginning when you're just getting started. I would encourage everybody to zoom out 50, 60, 70 years, however much time you think you have left, and do your best to figure out once you're there, what do you want to have achieved with your life? What would make you super proud? What were the things that you wish you didn't have to deal with? All of those things. And then just slowly start designing for yourself that future that you want. Again, that is also free. All you need to do that is a working mind and active imagination. And then, of course, after you educate yourself and network enough, I would go ahead and start buying properties. Don't sit on the sidelines too long. The sidelines don't make any money. How are you going to fund the businesses in your commercial real estate since they are a new business? Are you talking about the coffee shop? I haven't yet figured out if I want to own a coffee shop or lease a space to a coffee shop. Because those two are completely different. And let's see here. If I wanted to start a coffee shop, then I would have to not seek funding in the name of the coffee shop, but I would have to leverage one of the other businesses that we have in order to start the coffee shop. So I wouldn't seek funding for the coffee shop, I would leverage like the insurance agency and use monies borrowed or monies made from insurance to fuel coffee. But I might just take the easy way out and convince someone to put a coffee shop there and give them a favorable rent. Did you consider any other locations for investing other than Ohio before moving? So I actually wasn't convinced that I wanted to get into real estate investing prior to living or moving to Ohio. So I guess in short, the answer is no. I think I tried to buy rentals in North Carolina when I lived there, but it just, like a lot of you guys are experiencing, the numbers are just tight. And I was working in law enforcement, making about 44 grand a year. And it just didn't make sense because I didn't have the access to like capital to pay for any of the capital expenditures, and the property wouldn't cash flow enough to cover it. So I was in that dilemma. And then when I moved up here to Ohio and I realized the cost of living was just so incredibly cheap, like, the house I first lived in, when I moved up here, we bought it for 60 grand. And it's in a phenomenal school district. It's in a great area. It's just 60 grand. There's nothing wrong with it. Blew my mind. I was expecting it to be like in a very problematic area or have a bunch of like internal issues. But actually, the entire time that we lived there, I made not one repair to it. So it's just a different animal. And, I don't think here yet we have run out of enough good deals to cause us to invest in a different market. So we're going to stay here. We're going to stick to it, tried and true, and go from there. What advice would you give to someone starting in real estate? I think I answered this with this question, but I would say education and networking. I think that's the one thing that I did very, very well. Give myself a little pat on the back when I got started, was surrounding myself with a good group of mentors that had what I wanted. So I was able to find 3 to 4 people that had 20 plus properties that also they were interested in answering my phone calls and walking me through things when I had questions. So I was able to circumvent a lot of issues, and I was kind of able to piggyback off the experiences of those people. And I got their insight. And I think, that's why I love the mastermind group. I joined a mastermind group when I first moved up here. And just getting insight from people who were far more successful than I was very, very helpful, and allowed me to circumvent probably a couple decades of like trial and error. I am familiar with Hubzu. I tried to buy a house to live in off Hubzu, and it did not work. That is the last time I interacted with Hubzu. I don't know. There are a few auction websites like Hubzu, and I've never purchased any properties off of them. I won several bids on Hubzu, but they were never like the reserve. And I didn't know what the reserve was. So I wasn't just going to keep, outbidding against myself. I just wish people would ask for what they want, Oh, like, don't set a reserve. Just tell me how much you want for the property. Silly rascals. You do have a question. I've been looking for a company or software that can tell me the mortgage situation on any address to try and understand it. I'm telling you guys are like really pushing me towards PropStream. PropStream, sacred space. PropStream is probably the way to go. From what I understand about PropStream, not having walked through the tutorial, I think PropStream can probably accomplish this for you. I think you'll grow much more, Ryan. Thank you. Pretty chill guy who has life experience and the desire to bring value to others. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate you saying all of those things. I got so excited, actually, I almost knocked over my entire computer system, which is just my laptop, getting my foot caught in one of the many cords that I have to attach to my computer in order to make this live stream possible. It's quite the equipment. The biggest learning curve that I've had in starting this YouTube channel is all of the appropriate equipment needed in order to put together a mildly decent looking setup. Do you know if there's any platform that offers something of the sort? I think PropStream, but man, hold on, Sacred Space. Let me reach out to PropStream, get this tutorial, and see if they'll give me an affiliate link. But go ahead and feel free to test out PropStream without my affiliate link. I just hear affiliate marketing is good for YouTube channels. I haven't done much of it, but I hear that it's good. What is the best real estate book that you've read? What's the most informative book you've ever read? I'm going to take it. Those are two different questions. The most informative book that I've ever read. I feel a smart aleck comment boiling up inside of me. I would say the most informative. Man, books are such a phenomenal thing. I've got a link in the description of most of my videos that will take you to a list of books. I would say it's about 70 to 80% of all the books that I've read since I decided that I wanted to improve my life and make more money. I think there's about 300 to 500 books on that list. I'm really not sure. I try to keep it up to date, but I accidentally read a lot of books without adding them to the list, which is why I'm saying it's about 70% or so. Books are kind of like watching one YouTube video, right? You're getting one person's perspective. So one of the things that I would say is if you want to learn about single family homes, you should probably try and find about 10 to 15 books about investing in single family homes and read all of them. And by then you will probably have a phenomenal understanding about investing in single family homes. One of my favorites, because it is very similar to what I'm doing, it's called Building Wealth One House at a Time by, I think his name is JJ. No, I think it's just James. I think it's just James Schwab. And then, of course, it really just depends on where you're at in life. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a good one for me because I didn't necessarily understand exactly how money worked. I had ran through all of the books that Dave Ramsey wrote and got debt free. But, at that point, Dave Ramsey's good for that, but he's not necessarily great if you want to invest or grow a business or anything like that. So if you're interested in those kind of things, I mean, the Robert Kiyosaki's of the world, the Jay Schwabs, they're really good. Taking on debt in a smart way, not in a destructive consumer way. Pretty solid. And then I actually did an interview with the guy that wrote The Wealthy Gardener, John Saforic. That is probably the best book that I've read in the past. I think it's one of the best books ever written, honestly. And I would buy that book and I would read it. It's written in kind of a parable format, kind of like the way Jesus spoke. It's just a couple of fictional characters mixed with a whole bunch of hard-hitting truths about how to live life and the appropriate way to view life. And unlike the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, where it's kind of a lot of people that have opinions about things want to immediately be very forceful with it and kind of shove it down your throat and stand in stark opposition to anyone that views differently. So I think the Rich Dad, Poor Dads of the world, he calls people like Dave Ramsey, idiots, whereas people like Dave Ramsey calls people like Robert Kiyosaki idiots. And not both of them are kind of right and both of them are kind of wrong, right? And that's why I really loved the John Saforic book, The Wealthy Gardener, because he really met people where you're at. I mean, I reference it a lot on this channel as it really comes down to your personal preference and your overarching why of what you actually want out of your life. And The Wealthy Gardener, hands down, the best book that I've read in quite some time. So read The Wealthy Gardener and also Building Wealth One House at a Time. I should write a book.
that's not about insurance, but about, living your best life or making power plays. That's what I consider what I did moving from North Carolina to Ohio. It was kind of like a power play. It was a temporary thing because I'm a hardcore North Carolinian. I think North Carolina is the greatest state to live in ever. Mitch, hey, speaking of standing in stark opposition towards anyone that thinks differently, there you go. I think North Carolina is the best state. I'm just kidding. I'm being silly. I do my best not to do that. Again, that's where I'm trying to differentiate myself. It's really all up to you. What you want out of your life. There's a lot of different ways to get there. Progress is easy. We self-manage. We used to use a property management company, but we stopped somewhere around the pandemic. I would say we've been managing our own properties since June or July, maybe even May. We use Appfolio, and I really enjoy Appfolio. It's got a little app. I think there is a 50 property minimum, though. So in order to use Appfolio, you have to have at least 50 properties. I'm in the Pacific Northwest with a few W-2 jobs. You're a hardcore baller, man. I'll need to start in a different area to get capital up enough to afford houses near me. I'm looking at 3 different cities. Yeah. Okay, so on this statement, I think, because again, my insurance agency, I've got a lot of out-of-state clients, a lot from the Pacific Northwest, a lot from California, and some from New York, New Jersey, where property prices are a lot higher. And I think that if you have a high W-2 job that is offered in places like Washington, Oregon, California, and you have somebody that you very much so trust in the Midwest, I think the absolute perfect setup is to have a high paying W-2 out West and funneling all of your money into the real estate market in the Midwest, because it's just like the perfect storm, because banks love W-2. So you're never going to have an issue with lending. You're going to be able to qualify for anything because of your high Pacific Northwest W-2 income. And you're going to just be able to really scale very quickly here in the Midwest. I think that's like the perfect setup if you want to be a W-2 income earner. The Firehouse. Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying this. I've been wanting to do an update for quite some time, but I haven't really felt like I've had enough progress to make one. So I kind of put that project on hold while we were finishing up another one of our rehab projects because I made a few missteps. I rented out a property as of 11/1, and the property still isn't finished. So I actually pulled the majority of the people working on other projects for me off of those other projects and put them on this one. There was just a lot of miscommunications. I made some mistakes, and long story short, we have to get this property finished so this person can move in. I've tried giving the money back, the deposit for wanting to move into that property, and they want nothing to do with it. And I get it. It's a very nice house. This is the one that I referenced earlier on the live stream, where we are probably going to spend more on rehab than the property is worth, maybe. The appraisal is pending right now, so that's probably not true, but it's probably going to be pretty close. Too close for comfort. So close that if I knew how much money I would have put in this property, all said and done, I never would have acquired it to begin with. I wouldn't have even started on it. Also, the county and all the inspections that we've had to do, the project has been very delayed because I am trying. I am absolutely trying to figure out what the county wants from me and what these inspectors are after. I have spent a lot of time on the phone thinking that I knew exactly what they wanted, and then they came out to the property once I had accomplished all of those things and failed the property anyway. So I've got a few inspection failures on my end as well that have also held everything up. Hubzoo's tough. Hubzoo's tough. I really just wish, again, I wish people would just tell me what they want, what they really, really want. Let's see here. What am I doing now besides insurance? Insurance is about it. Insurance and real estate and YouTube. Insurance, real estate, YouTube. I've got a few other businesses that I had in the past that I'm still getting payments from, sort of. But yeah, insurance, real estate, YouTube. Fatherhood. Husbandry, fatherhood, insurance, real estate, YouTube, in that order. That's what I do. How do you feel about real estate development, and would you do it? I would like to do development just to call myself a developer, but if I weren't in this market, I would probably venture into developing a little bit sooner. But since we are in the Rust Belt, quote unquote, and since the housing stock here is largely older and vacant homes are the biggest issue that we have, then it makes more sense to rehab the vacant housing stock rather than develop additional housing stock. So it's cheaper for us now to rehab properties rather than build properties. I don't know about the commercial space. Maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe developing commercial is the way to go at the moment. I haven't seen anyone develop much inside the city limits of Dayton. A few places have gone up around the Dayton Dragons ballpark, but I haven't done any of that or know the people that have done that. And I'm not so sure the returns on that. So I think it's a good idea. That's hilarious because we met in Ohio. What part of NC did you move to? No, if I scan the MLS by myself a lot. And as I scan the MLS, if there's a property that I'm interested in, I'll contact the listing agent. Other than that, all of the realtors that I have worked with previously, I give people a very intense rundown of exactly the type of property that I'm looking for. And I beg and plead with all the realtors that I ever meet that if they have anything ever that even remotely resembles what I'm looking for, then please reach out to me. And I think that's a good marketing strategy. I've had a lot of luck with that. This is awesome. 24 people watching. I really appreciate it. We've gone for about 2 hours. This is the first time I've done anything that looks like work since Thanksgiving. So thank you all. I say that. We've purchased a few properties and I've sold a few insurance policies. This is the first time I feel like I'm working. So thank you. We just had a baby December 1st. And so did my brother. He also had a baby on December 1st. So if you are just now joining this live stream, thank you for 4,600 subscribers. I really appreciate it. And if you think this channel would benefit anyone that you know, please share it with them. The limit is 1,500. Please do not share this with more than 1,500 people. Nice. We did a little flopsy poo. I was born in the South Charlotte area. I am from Kannapolis, North Carolina. Other notable people, like I said, other, meaning that I am a notable person. George Clinton, little known fact, George Clinton is in fact from Kannapolis. But I just committed a social sin by the fact that I did not mention Dale Earnhardt first. Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Are actually from Kannapolis. The most noteworthy person from Kannapolis ever, Dale Earnhardt. Number 3, passing the grass. Good morning. Got a split. Great information and energy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Every single time that any of you guys say anything about my energy, it makes me pumped because I am so monotone and so hard to listen to. Like 2x is the minimum speed that you should listen to any of my videos on. So thank you. And thank you. I'm new to your channel and love it. Thank you. We've been having a great conversation this morning. Welcome to the 6-member club. That's true. Yeah. My son actually counted us last night. He is 3. So our 4 kids are under 4. So it makes for a really good time. Lots of screams when things go south. Lots of crying still. So yeah, I hope you're having fun in Charlotte. I'm a little bit jealous. I'm really looking forward to being back in North Carolina someday, but Ohio has done a lot more for me than North Carolina has done so far. All right. Well, I appreciate it. You guys ask more questions. And I will answer these questions. I'm also going to check with my wife when I get back home tonight. I'm going to see if I can do any live stream later in the evening around 6 or 7 p.m. when more people are on. Do you find an overlap in insurance and real estate? Yes. So my property and casualty insurance. So Kyle Clark and I met doing life insurance. I do not do life insurance anymore. I only do property and casualty insurance. And I have become a little bit more niche in that I only write insurance for other real estate investors. So because of that, I think that there's a lot of overlap. However, I also think that property and casualty insurance is so broad, and I feel like every individual and every business is a potential client. Everybody needs insurance. So I think you could take what I have done with property and casualty insurance and real estate investing into any industry. If you are a pet lover and you want to make additional money, and you want it to be surrounding pets, you can get your property and casualty license, and you can write insurance for like pet haircut, dog parks, pet food stores, anything pet related needs insurance. So I think property and casualty insurance is a phenomenal tool to get closer to the people and provide value and a phenomenal service to the people in the industry that you are passionate about and love. And it's on a residual recurring basis. So for me, I know that I have purchased something that I can point at and quantify is I can say that I have purchased about 17 homes from people that are or were insurance clients. So in that sense, it's a lot. Hey, Ryan, finally able to tune in live. I'm not a morning person. I wanted to ask what approach you would take in investing in an area where prices are 230 to 300K for some cheaper areas like the Midwest. I read a book by a former FBI agent called What Everybody Is Saying, and it is a really cool book talking about body language. And pretty much anytime anyone touches their neck while they're speaking, it's that they are unsure or like maybe even insecure about what they're about to say. So I just touched my neck while I was speaking, and truly, I have no idea how to answer this question. I think real estate, there's a lot of commonalities regardless of what the price is. So I would say that if your home prices are 230 to 300,000, then you should either look in other areas or try and find properties that are distressed that you could buy for like 100 grand and try to get away with only putting like 120, 130 in the property and getting your equity on the front end rather than just relying on cash flow. So I'm positive that you're probably going to be able to find distressed properties in areas that are far cheaper than $230,000, $300,000 and kind of build your equity in on the front end. And then you could either refinance, pull the money out and find another distressed property and keep the rental income, or you could refinance it, not pull any money out, keep all your equity in and have more of a cash flow spread on the property because the mortgage is lower. That's my best guess. No, I'm also licensed in a few other states. Indiana is one. Illinois is one. North Carolina is one. When I first started my insurance agency, I had the intentions of becoming a nationwide insurance agency, but the issue is insurance is regulated on a state-to-state basis. So every state has its own Department of Insurance that makes all of the rules and regulations. So what's true for insurance in Ohio is not true for insurance in California. By and large, it's probably similar, but it's very nuanced, and the majority of insurance companies that write in all 50 states are not fans of rental properties or real estate investors. So the scalability is the issue that I ran into. Yes, they have. Yeah, I mean, investment properties in North Carolina would be solid, but you're right, it's expensive. I have not done any subject to. I think subject to is probably good if you need capital, if you're trying to get some sweat equity, if you're trying to be creative, if you are not bankable. If you are bankable, if you don't need sweat equity, then you could generally, the people that are in these positions would probably benefit more if you are able to pay them outright and get them money immediately. Subject to, I don't really like it, just because everything I know about insurance, I'm sure there are scenarios out there where subject to is a win-win scenario, but I don't come across many of them. And all of the subject to deals that I've heard about, if you had the money or the means to, or the bankability just to get them into long-term financing or pay them off immediately, it's probably better for all parties involved. But that's my opinion. And when I say that, going back to what I said previously, there's a lot of personal preference. There's a lot of ways to build a real estate investing empire, a real estate portfolio. So subject to is a very viable option to get started. And I've seen a lot of people do it very well, but it's just not necessarily my cup of tea. Real estate investing is already hard enough between the banks, the insurance, the inspectors, the residents. There's no need to unnecessarily involve yet another person. So if you were doing a subject to deal, then you would have the lender, the mortgage holder, the resident, and the insurance company. You're just adding more people, more people's hands are in the pot. There's more margin for error in subject to deals. That's my answer. Alrighty. Well, it is 10:17. We have been going on for, let's see here, 2 hours and 17 minutes. And I think that makes this the longest live stream that we have done. So if you guys have any more questions, let's go for it. I could spend all day on here, and I would happily do so. But I think I'm going to set a limit for myself. Let's do 2 more questions, or until 10:20, whichever one comes first. It is a festival. I'm super excited about it. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Jim Rohn, but I listen to a lot of Jim Rohn. I listen to probably about 5 to 10 hours a week of Jim Rohn, just while I'm doing things, while I'm driving places, while I'm doing nonsensical insurance work. Yeah, I like him a lot. You should listen to him. I live in a hot market where cap rate is 6 to 8%. Would you say it's okay to invest if the cash flow is, let's see here, less than $100 a door if appreciation is expected? Nope. You're young and 27. I would not speculate on appreciation. And the people that do speculate on appreciation are the ones that are sitting on the sidelines right now because everybody is worried about what the housing market's going to do. Appreciation, I kind of view as like the icing on the cake. Oh, this is question 1 of 2. Let me make note of that before I get distracted and answer all of them. Okay. Yeah, appreciation is often considered as like icing on the cakes. Icings on the cakes. Too many S's. Yeah, I would not invest in that hot of a market for less than $100 a door, hoping that it appreciates. You're young, you're 27. If I were young and 27, I just turned 30. I'm no longer young or 27. I'm just kidding. I'm being silly again. I mean, I'm a big fan of what I did. So I would move to a market that is more favorable to you, and it could be short term, right? It could be a very you could set yourself like a three year, move somewhere else, make as much noise and as much money as you can, and then move back. That was my intentions with North Carolina. I'm probably not going to leave Ohio anymore, even though I wanted to go back to North Carolina, just because North Carolina has done so much for me. I mean, excuse me, Ohio has done so much. Power plays. It's all about power play. If you're 27, what drastic measure could you take now to set yourself up, your future self up to the best of your ability? So if you had the ability to write your next 3 years, what would they look like? And then just figure out exactly how to make that happen. And, take some pretty drastic measures, move, change careers, whatever it really takes to make that happen. We've only got one life. Let's not spend it working for someone else that we don't want to, or living in an area that, doesn't treat us favorably just because the market's too hot. I like to think so. Next YouTube video upload schedule. Man, that's important. That's what this is not a question. I still have one more question left. That's a good question. I really enjoyed putting out daily videos. I just hired a customer service representative on the insurance agency that should take a lot of the insurance work off my plate. So hopefully daily videos are once more a possibility, but definitely want to help my wife out a lot and not accidentally not be a good husband or father for her when I have the ability to do so, just because I'm trying to get videos out on YouTube really quick. It's high priority, but family first. That's what makes the world go round. Let's see. This is a good question, Kyle Clark. How do you spend your time? Is every day the same? No, I do not like schedules at all, which is why I had a lot of difficulty, answering that last question. My days are spent, I like to get into my office around 4 to 5 a.m. And in this, I like to do a combination of insurance, real estate, and YouTube. So I do a bunch of reading, and I do like a bunch of self-development, self-improvement type stuff and planning. So I've pretty much got the next, 50 years planned out pretty thoroughly. So I just do my best to hold myself accountable. I do not watch. I think rather than how I spend my time, I think the more important thing is how I don't spend my time. I waste very little on a daily basis. We don't have a television. We don't really watch movies. I deleted all of the news apps or any way to get news off my phone. I get all my news from the coconut grapevine. So I really focus on work. And the reason I get to my office so early is because every day at 4:30, I call it a day. I go home, and I do not do anything work related until after all of my kids go to sleep, and after my wife and I have spent a sufficient amount of time together. And if I have the energy, I might work again that evening. But that's why I get to the office so early. And being really intentional about all the time that you do spend away from your house, because I kind of view any time spent away from my family as robbing my family of time with me. And that sounded a little bit more egotistical than I expected it to or wanted it to. But what I really mean is, if I am away from my house, I better be doing something very good enough to justify missing the memories that are being created with my kids that I won't get to experience again. So a lot of planning, a lot of acting, and really just making sure that all of the business endeavors that I have run smoothly. We did it. 2.5 hour live stream. I really appreciate it, guys. If this is your first time on the channel, or if you know anybody that could benefit from a channel like this, please just send them a link to the channel and tell them, hey, you should subscribe to this channel, because we're trying to hit 5,000 subs by the end of the year. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I've answered the 2 questions, and now we're out of here. I will talk to you all soon.